Hey, what's up everyone? Southside Braves here, and welcome to Gridiron Update for Week 4 of the NFL. Sorry this one's coming out a little bit later. Had a busy week and wasn't able to get it out before the Thursday night game, so I'm at least getting it out before the Sunday games. So yeah, let's take a look at the games from last week that I got to watch. First up was Sunday Night Football. Steelers-Raiders, the game I will always watch every week, the Steelers game. And the Steelers look better. Offense scored multiple touchdowns. Not used to saying that. Defense played great. TJ Watt's great. Turned over Garoppolo a bunch, sacked him a bunch. For the Raiders, Devontae Adams is real good. He was their entire offense. Literally all of it. He did what he could to keep him in. And we have to talk about the call that Josh McDaniels called at the end of the game. Down 8. They have 3.5-ish minutes to go, about the 30-yard line or so, and they line up for a field goal. I'm going to be honest, with about 3.5 left, where they're at on the field, I kind of like that call. There's a leverage penalty against the Steelers on the kick. They get an automatic first down. They go to about 2.5 minutes to go at the 8-yard line on a 4th and 4. They line up for the field goal again and kick it. At that point, I no longer like the call. I like the thought of the first one, but I heard an ESPN analyst say you were kind of given a gift by the football gods, and you spat in their face and didn't even utilize it. They gave you a chance to get down. You're at the 8-yard line against the Steelers defense. Even if you get the ball back, even if you get a 3 and out, you're going to need a touchdown. There's no guarantee you can get back in the red zone against the Steelers defense. When you're that close, you have to take that shot. And the Steelers had not stopped Devontae Adams all night. Just toss the ball up to him and see what he can do. So once they were on the 8, I hated that call. Like I said, I was kind of for the first field goal attempt. But once you got the penalty, then you got to go for it. So, call a lot of people are hating on. That's my take on it. But yeah, overall, I was happy with the Steelers' performance. Levi Wallace coming up with 2 interceptions on that defense. I don't think he's had a very good start to the year, and I don't even think this game was great for him, but 2 picks is 2 picks, and we will take it, and that's something we can build on. So I guess I should have had it while I was talking about it. Score, Steelers won 23-18. Like I said, they were up 8 late. They kicked the field goal to make it 5, and that's where the game would end. We picked up a first down on a little sprint pass to Allen Robinson. To kind of burn the rest of the clock. The Raiders got the ball back with 12 seconds and threw one more pick to Levi Wallace to end the game. So, rough performance for Jimmy G. And I know he is out this week now, too, because of the concussion. Can only assume it came on the TJ Watt sack where he got bent backwards. But he did stay in this game, so that's always a little weird. But he will not be playing this upcoming week. So, that was the first of the games I got to see this week from start to finish. The second one I got to see from start to finish was Rams at Bengals. This time I will go ahead and pop the score up right away. Bengals won a close one here. And I'm going to be honest, there wasn't a ton to take away from this game. Neither team, in my opinion, looked great. The Rams, I think, have been a little better so far this year than I expected them to be. But I didn't love their play calling in this. The announcers during the game were pointing it out. But every time they got to red zone, they just completely stopped running the football. And I think you can run the football successfully against that Bengals defense. Especially that's what's worked for the Rams, and they stopped doing it. Bengals came in with what looked like an offensive game plan of feed Jamar Chase. He had done nothing the first 2 weeks. They hadn't really tried to get him the ball that much. And in this one, they just threw it to him constantly. He had, either 14 or 16 catches. He had a ton of catches in this, over 100 yards. So he got going. But overall, the Bengals offense still, even with that, did not really get going. They kept mentioning Joe Burrow's injury, and I don't know how serious it is, his hamstring, but he looked hampered in this. The offense looks limited. So overall, this singular performance, I wasn't impressed all that much with either team. I still think the Bengals have a very good roster and are a good football team, but they've yet to show that this year. The Rams, I'm coming around to maybe being a better football team than I thought. I thought they'd be bottom 3 or 4 teams in the league. They might be a little bit better than that. But this game did not impress on either side. But the Bengals do pick up their first win, which they desperately, desperately needed. In that AFC North, you cannot fall to 0-3. So that was this game for these teams. So let's go ahead and take a look at my power rankings for this week. So if you saw, actually, let me flip back here real quick. I am wearing a Bears jersey this week. It is a Mitch Trubisky jersey. So it's a Bears jersey of a current Steeler. But I'm kind of wearing it to honor the new last place team this week. The Bears getting stomped by the Chiefs in the Taylor Swift game. Yes, any NFL thing you hear about now has to mention Taylor Swift. It's an NFL obligation. So here's my Taylor Swift contribution. Yep, the Bears got stomped in that Taylor Swift game. They fall to 32nd. The new worst team in the NFL. Easy pick for 31 here would have been the Broncos. They lost by 50. And I get that. But the first two games were close. They've looked like they had a potential of winning a game here and there. So I don't want to overreact to one bad loss. That's as bad as a loss can be. A 50-point loss. But it's still only one loss in the record book. It doesn't count for two because it was so bad, even though it maybe should because it was that hard to watch. But I don't have the Broncos here at 31. I have the Panthers. If the two were to play, I think I would have more faith in the Broncos. So I have the Panthers here at 31. They didn't have Bryce Young last week. I don't know what his status is for this week. But they are my 31st team. The Giants here at 30, even though they do have one win, they've basically looked terrible for 5 of the 6 halves of football they've played this year. So I have them at 30. I have the Broncos here at 29. And really, all 4 of these teams, my bottom 4 here, they all stink. Throw them in whatever order you want. I think those are definitely my 4 worst teams in the league right now. I have the Raiders there at 28, but I think it's a pretty decent jump between 29 and 28. So those bottom 4 are in their own tier. So, yep, those are your 4 worst teams in the league. Next up, like I said, you have the Raiders that lost to the Steelers this week. They're at 28. Titans fall 6 spots to number 27 after their embarrassing loss to the Browns, where they kind of got stomped around and that offensive line looked pathetic. And maybe my favorite play of the week, Myles Garrett going back and forth with that Browns defense and having 2 Tennessee offensive players rotating with him and going in motion with him until the play clock ran out. I wasn't actually watching the game when it happened. So I don't know if the Titans used a timeout or if it was a delay of game. But either way, that exchange, if you haven't seen it, was hilarious to me. Rams stay put at 26. Like I said, they lost a close one to the Bengals. Didn't really see the need to move them. Falcons, I might have been a little too soon to jump the gun. I did not think they were all that great. They kind of fooled me the first couple weeks. I moved them up. So they fall back down 7 spots to a more realistic position for them in my eyes. And they're at 25. So moving up now to the best of the worst. We have the Commanders also falling 7. I kind of jumped them up with the Falcons last week, and I'm going to retreat on both those. Commanders fall to 24 after their blowout loss. Do a good Bills team, but still a blowout loss. Colts are going to jump 4 spots after their big win against the Ravens. They've looked all right so far 3 weeks in, so we'll see if they can continue that. Next, we're going to have our 2 biggest jumpers of the week. The 2 teams I had as last and second to last week both put up dominant victories. The Cardinals move up 10 spots for a double-digit win against the Cowboys, who I had as a top 3 team in the league. Josh Dobbs looked great, and I think that's awesome for him. A former Steeler quarterback draft pick. I wish all the best for him. Seems like a great guy. Obviously, I don't know him personally, but everything I always read about him as a Steeler, he seemed like a great guy. I love seeing him succeed for the Cardinals, and I hope that continues. CJ Stroud's the rookie quarterback everyone's talking about. They move up 10 spots as well as number 21, throwing for over 300 yards in all 3 games. Pretty impressive, multiple touchdowns, no picks. So we'll see if he can do that against the Steelers defense this week. I have a feeling I'll be moving them back down a little bit next week, but we'll see. Buccaneers fall 4 spots to number 20. Baker in that offense could not get it done against that vaunted Eagles defense. Next up at number 19, we have arguably one of the most disappointing teams 3 weeks in, and that's the Jaguars. Everyone was on board with them being a great team this year. They lost a kind of lackluster game to the Chiefs, and it's like, oh, that was the Chiefs, maybe not a big deal. Then they got absolutely smacked around by the Texans. That's a big deal. Like, something's wrong with the Jaguars. They fall 9 spots. I believe that's my biggest drop of any team this week. Jaguars fall from number 10 to number 19. Patriots, I've talked about them in the first 2 weeks. I've kind of been impressed with how close their games were, but they didn't get a win, so I didn't really have them moving up all that much. This week, they do finally get a win against a Zach Wilson Jets team, which I still believe the Jets team is very good, but I fully believe Zach Wilson is not very good, and he is really, really holding them back. But the Patriots do finally get a win, so I'll give them some credit for their first 2 weeks as well. Move them up 6 spots to number 18. My Pittsburgh Steelers will be the best of the worst here at number 17. Moving up 3 spots. I thought we looked a lot better on both sides of the football this week. Well, we didn't look better on defense. Our defense looked great against Cleveland. But as a whole team, we looked better. So I do have us moving up 3 spots. But even that, it was still a one-possession game with the Raiders. So I don't have us jumping like crazy. But we are currently, if you look at the standings, number 2 team in the AFC. So, and also let me specify, once again, these power rankings are not counting the Thursday game this week. I do know the Lions beat the Packers. None of this is accounting for that. This is just after week 3. All right. So now let's look at the worst of the best. Spots 9 through 16. We have those Packers I just mentioned at 16. They had a big comeback win against the Saints. If Derek Carr doesn't go down, I don't know if that game plays out the same. And the Saints did have a chance to win it still with Jameis Winston leading the team. They had a field goal attempt at the end of the game, and they missed it. So Packers did get a nice comeback win, so I am going to move them up to number 16. The 0-3 Vikings are going to stay put at 15 for me. And they probably should drop. There's 2 teams on this section that really, really probably should be lower, and that's the Vikings and the Jets. But what's really hard about these is so many teams in the league have massive holes, and there's huge flaws with these teams. So even though the Vikings are 0-3, and I'll get to the Jets in a minute, but let's talk about the Vikings first. Even though they're 0-3, I have more confidence in them than some teams that are 2-1. Like, I've seen a body of work from the Vikings throughout the years that obviously I don't think they're a top 10 team. I don't. But I don't think they're one of the worst teams in the league or anything like that. I think middle of the pack is kind of where they belong. And I don't think... You are what your record says you are, and the record says the Vikings are 0-3. But they're as good as an 0-3 team can be, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So I have them staying put at 15. Seahawks climbed 4 spots to number 14. Kind of looking like the team some people expected them to be coming into the year, picking up another win. So let's see if they can keep it rolling. Number 13 here, the New York Jets. Let's pause and talk about this for a minute. Because they're 1-2, and they have looked awful since Aaron Rodgers has gone down. And I get that. But, and I know I'm not in charge of anything, and nothing I say matters to these players. I don't like throwing one guy under the bus. But a lot of this falls on the shoulders of Zach Wilson. And if they can... I know they signed Trevor Siemian. I don't know if that's the answer. But they just need somebody to manage that team because they have a good roster. So I'm giving them another week to get that figured out. See if they can look better because I really, really believe in their defense. I think they have enough weapons on offense. They just need to get that quarterback situation figured out. So I'm going to leave them put, and I know this is too high. They should probably be in the late teens, early 20s. But I'm giving them one more week grace period before they get punished. Zach Wilson, prove it to everyone something. You got something in the tank here. So they're going to stay put. Cowboys fall 9 spots to number 12. And I believe I actually might have misspoke. I'm going to flip back real quick. Oh, yeah, I said Jaguars were my biggest dropper. They were 9. Cowboys tie them. They also fall 9 spots here to number 12. They got rocked by a team I thought was tanking. I legitimately thought the Cardinals were trying to tank the season, and they destroyed Dallas. So, while on the scoreboard it wasn't as bad of a loss as the Bears or the Broncos, it was just as bad of a loss for them. And I know they lost Trayvon Diggs, but he's a good ball player. But he is not that important to that Cowboys defense, where they went from what they were the first 2 weeks to what we saw against Arizona. That was a absolute just drop the ball game from Dallas. So they're going to fall 9 spots. They very well could bounce back this week and look great again, but you got to be punished for that performance we saw there last week. Number 11, you see my Super Bowl pick falling 2 spots here to number 11. Like I said, losing that game late to Green Bay. And I do believe if they had Derek Carr, that wouldn't have happened. But unfortunately, they didn't. They had Jameis Winston. And like I said, they had a chance still. Jameis Winston didn't play badly per se. He gave him a chance to win it late, but missed the field goal. So they did lose. I'm going to drop 2 spots, but nothing too harsh for the Saints. Bengals, even though they only have 1 win, are going to climb 4 spots to number 10. They showed something. Jamar Chase at least got going. And if Burrow can get healthy, I don't know when that's going to be. I think that hamstring injury will linger. But I know what this team can be if Joe Burrow gets healthy and gets right. And the defense is doing enough to keep them in some games. That offense just needs to get going. And they have so many weapons. I think they will. And another thing to mention, Jamar Chase got going. T. Higgins needs to play better. He had a couple drop passes. He had a couple lackluster weeks, specifically week 1. I think he played better week 2. But week 1 and then this week, he had a couple bad drops. He himself needs to play better. The Jamar Chase thing wasn't as involved as he could have been, but T. Higgins just flat out had some drops. He needs to be better for that offense. Number 9, we have the Detroit Lions, everyone's favorite team this year. Looking pretty good, up to 2-1. Like I said, I think 9 is about right for them. I think that's where they're going to hover around all year. I like the Lions a lot. I don't think they're one of the elite teams, but they're in that next group. And I think I've said this about the Lions a couple times. But right now, I'm going to have them at number 9. And next up, we have the best of the best. The Browns make my top 8 this week, climbing 3 spots. They looked really, really good against Tennessee. They got a better version of Deshaun Watson. If he can continue to improve like that, they can be a scary team. That defense is very, very scary. I don't think we're going to get a much better version of Deshaun Watson than what we saw last week. But if he can replicate what he did against Titans, that'll be good enough for the Browns to win a lot of games. Excuse me. 7, we're going to leave the Ravens. We're going to leave them where they're at. They dropped the ball against Indy. Lost a close one. Realistically, if the pass interference gets called like it should have been, they win that football game. But every call is not going to go your way. So for now, I'm just going to leave them put. 1 stinker game doesn't hurt you too much. If realistically, you probably should have won it if the call is right anyways. So. My highest ranked losing record team, at number 6, I have the Chargers. I'm a big Herbert guy. I believe in that offense. I believe in that team. I have them at 6, picking up their first win of the season against the Vikings, even though neither team played well. They both very much tried to lose that game. But they did win it. And I think they're going to start to get going here. They're going to rattle off some in a row. So we'll see if I'm right there. But they are at number 6. Number 5, climbing 1 spot, we got the Buffalo Bills. They've looked pretty dominant since that week 1 where everyone had questions about them. I thought it was going to go one of 2 ways for them. Either their season was going to get off to a very, very rocky start after that game, or they were going to pound on some bad teams to make up for it. And it's been the latter. They've been pounding on some bad teams to make up for it. Got a very fun one this week between them and the Dolphins. That should be a fantastic, fantastic football game. And I can't wait to see that. Although I'll be seeing highlights of it because they play at the same time as the Steelers. But they are at number 5. 3 and 4 both climb 1 spot as well. Dolphins, Chiefs both get blowout victories against bad teams. Dolphins with the historic 70-20 win, and the Chiefs blowing out the Bears by 30 plus. So not much to say there. Both those teams looked really, really good, and they are really, really good. But I'm not going to move down teams that also picked up wins that also looked good. So Niners stay at 2. They played on Thursday. People kind of have recency bias about, the Chiefs and the Dolphins blew out their opponent. The Niners won pretty handily on Thursday, too, against the Giants. So they're going to stay put. The big question mark on here when people look at mine is the Eagles staying put at 1. And a lot of people are saying, they haven't looked the same. I've been impressed with the Eagles. I thought their defense looked phenomenal. The offense, I think, still looks very, very good. Like, I don't see any issues with the Eagles. I don't. I think they're just fine. I think people maybe are expecting perfection out of them. I think they look like a very, very dang good football team. So they're going to stay put at 1 on mine until they show me that they shouldn't be. And so far to me, they haven't done that. So I'm not going to overreact to the Dolphins winning by 50 and jump them all the way up to number 1 when I still believe the Eagles and Niners are better football teams. But they will need to continue to win to hold off the Dolphins, especially if they pick up a win against the Bills. It's going to be tough not to jump. But for now, this is what we're going with. And these are the power rankings here. So let's take a look at matchups coming up this week. I guess first, let's see how I did last week. Last week, my picks went 10-6. So I went 10-6 week 1, 9-7 week 2, 10-6 week 3. So kind of consistent, I guess. But hopefully we can still make that climb. So on the season, for my picks, I am 29-19. So not too bad. I'd like that number to be better, but that's where we're sitting right now with our picks for the year. So let's take a look at the matchups for this week. Starting with the Thursday night game, Lions at Packers. And this one did already happen. And I did send text proof, because I knew this video wasn't going to get up in time, on who I had winning. And who I had winning that game was the Green Bay Packers, winning at home. And that didn't happen. The Lions stomped them. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how I'm going to break down a game that already happened. Like, what I thought was going to happen was Jordan Love was going to look really, really good. And the Packers at home at Lambeau were going to just be the more clean, polished football team. But Lions kind of handed it to them and looked really, really good. And the thing about this Lions team that I'm not respecting as much as I should is, where does Jared Goff rank among quarterbacks in the NFL right now? When he got shipped off to Detroit in that Stafford deal, I thought he'd be there for a year or two until they found their next guy. But he has locked down that position for him. He has been great. Like, I think he is no doubt a top 10 quarterback in the league right now, which I thought was no shot of that when he got traded. So Jared Goff's been fantastic. Lions pick up a big win here. Not what I expected to happen. So I am putting up what I expected still. So I can tell the truth, because this is wrong. So already starting off the week 0-1. All right, next up, we got the Falcons at Jaguars over in London. Sunday morning. I like the London games personally for my own selfish reasons, because I get to wake up early and watch football all day. I can watch them at 8:30 in the morning, whatever it is my time. And then the other games come on at noon, and so on and so on. So this is also the the Toy Story game, which I'm intrigued how they're going to do that. They're going to make this thing a cartoon, play-by-play, as it happens. So I'm intrigued by it. The game itself is in London. So I think when you see a London football game, your pick is fairly easy. You pick the Jaguars. The Jaguars win football games in London. That's just the way it works. That's one of the rules of the NFL, and it's not a rule I will be breaking. And it might be the first time Jaguars have ever been favored in London, but they have not looked good. The Jaguars need a get-right game, and this needs to be a get-right game for them, and I think it will be. I think Trevor Lawrence will have a good game here. and that Jaguars offense specifically will get going. So, Jaguars pick up the win over in London. After that, we got the game of the week. Dolphins going to Buffalo after winning by 50 last week. So, if you can only watch one game this week, watch the Steeler game because they're the Steelers. If you can watch two games this week at the same time, watch this one because this one is going to be great. I don't know. I think the Dolphins specifically, trying to say the right way to word this, because you're going to have trap games after you blow somebody out or when you're coming up against a big opponent. And obviously the Bills are nowhere near a trap game. They're one of the best teams in the league. But the Dolphins might be getting a little full of themselves. Like, they're really, really good. Very, very, very good. But you're not going to blow everyone out by 50. I think they're going to come down to earth quite a bit in this game. And I'm actually going to pick the Bills to defend home field here. And the Bills are going to give the Dolphins their first loss of the season. And let me just say, if I'm correct about this, and the Steelers beat the Texans, Steelers will be your number one team in the AFC, standings-wise, a month in. So, I want to see that happen. Picking the Bills, and I believe it's going to happen. So, next up, we got the exact opposite of that game. We got a game between two of the teams that had some of the worst performances I've seen in a long time last week. And you know what? Before I even talk about these two terrible, terrible teams, I need to drink something. Oh, sorry for hitting the mic with that. All right, so these two teams. I heard somebody talk about how to bet on this game. Do you want to bet the over or the under and that? And it's like, these defenses are so bad, you want to bet the over. Then you look at the offenses, and they're not much better. So, this could be a shootout between these two terrible teams. It could be a 3-0 game because both offenses, I don't know. They both suck. I'm done picking the Broncos for the rest of the year. That's probably not true, but I'm picking the Bears to get a win at home. Who cares? Who cares with this game? We're gonna move on. Bears pick up the win at home. Next up, we have an AFC North battle between the Ravens and the Browns. This can be a fun one. Browns coming off their best win of the year. Ravens coming off their first loss of the year. Browns still adjusting to life without Nick Chubb. They're going to be asking more of Deshaun Watson because of it. They did pick up Kareem Hunt last week. Him and Ford handled the running game just fine. Ravens have a bunch of injuries still. Yeah, I'm going to pick the Browns to win this one at home and give the Ravens back-to-back losses. Lamar had a couple turnovers last week, I believe. I know he had at least one fumble. I think he had 2 turnovers. At least one, maybe 2. The Browns defense is better than the Colts defense he went up against. And yeah, I think the Browns will do enough on offense. They'll pick up this win at home without Nick Chubb, who I did see today does definitely need a second surgery. Moving on. Next up, we got Bengals at Titans. Bengals pick up their first win of the year last week. Titans had their worst loss of the year. So, this game, it's about the Bengals. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to kind of throw the Titans almost completely out of my thinking here. Will the Bengals fix stuff? Will Joe Burrow be healthy enough to run the offense? Will the offense look better? I'm not convinced he's healthy yet. After what I saw last week and how much that hamstring can linger, I'm not convinced he's healthy. I'm not convinced that team can score enough points to win football games right now. By the end of the year, they could be if he gets right. But nothing about the Bengals has shown me confidence. Yeah, I'm picking them to lose here against Titans. This might be my upset of the week, even though the Bengals are only 1-2. But I'm going to say the Titans pick up the win here at home, and the Bengals fall to 1-3. So, not what a lot of people thought coming into the year. But that's my pick for this one. Moving on. We got Rams-Colts. Rams-Colts. What do we want to do with this game? Two teams that have been more impressive than I expected. Rams probably had their least impressive game of the year last week against the Bengals, but still looked okay. The Colts, I believe, should be getting Anthony Richardson back. I do believe I saw he is playing this week. And for that alone, I'm actually going to give the Colts the win here at home. Getting Anthony Richardson back is a big step up for them, even though I love Gardner Minshew. And Gardner Minshew got that win against the Ravens. I'm a big Minshew mania guy. But Anthony Richardson can do a lot of things for you. And I love the story of some of these Rams guys. Kyron Williams, Poco Nakua, which I might be butchering his name. I think that's how you say it, Poco Nakua. They've been awesome. But how far can those guys really take you? I'm going with the Colts in this one to win this game at home. All right. After that, we got Buccaneers at Saints. I'm going to tell you right now, my Super Bowl pick bounces back. Whether it's Derek Carr or Jameis Winston, which I think it's going to be Winston probably. And if that's the case, a little revenge game for Jameis Winston. I think the Saints are the better football team, no matter which guy's playing quarterback. I think probably Derek Carr or Jameis Winston are probably both better than Baker. Derek Carr, I fully believe, is better than Baker Mayfield. Jameis Winston's kind of a toss-up with Baker. But they get Kamara back. That's a big, big, big addition for the Saints. Their run game has not been great. I know going into week 3, Taysom Hill was their leading rusher. So getting Alvin Kamara back should be massive for the Saints. I'm kind of excited to see what their offense looks like with him back. And so for those reasons, I'm picking the Saints. I think I'm picking a lot of home teams so far. So I think it's going to be a big week for home teams. Next up, we got Commanders at Eagles. Okay. I said Bengals at Titans was my upset of the week. I'm changing my mind here. I've been hyping up the Eagles, saying people are wrong, saying they haven't played all that great. I'm like, they're fine. They're fine. They're not going to be fine this week. Divisional games are different. There's something about them. Some fluky stuff can happen. And I don't really have logic to this, because I do like what I've seen from the Eagles. But my gut is telling me Commanders win this. And this might almost be some, school testing issues where I picked too many home teams in a row. I need to pick a road team. But I hope it's not my mind playing that trick on me. But my gut is telling me Commanders are going to pull off an upset here. They got embarrassed last week against the Bills. I have a lot of respect for their defensive line specifically, but even their defense as a whole. Sam Howell can't possibly play worse than he did last week. So I'm going to say they pick up the win here and give the Eagles their first loss of the year at home in Philadelphia. And if you want me to continue the bold predictions, the 3-0 Eagles fans might be booing them. They like to boo anything when their team doesn't win every single game. But yeah, Eagles fans might be booing as the Commanders will go into Philadelphia and pick up the win. Am I confident in that? Absolutely not. That's the pick I'm going with. Next up, We got two more disappointing teams. 0-3 Vikings versus 0-3 Panthers. Okay. Okay, this one's different. I don't know who's playing quarterback for the Panthers. That's a... You know what? Actually, mid-video, I'm going to try to look it up. I'm going to look it up. Bear with me. I'll try to ramble as I see how fast I can look this up, because this could make a big difference. Panthers. Let's see. Can I get to their injuries? Injury report. What do we got about Bryce Young? Bryce Young. He's not listed on the injury report, so he should be playing. Okay, so that's going to make this one a lot closer. Bryce Young's in, not Andy Dalton. But I don't believe the Vikings can fall to 0-4. I don't. They're too good of a football team to be 0-4. The Panthers, I don't think, are a good football team. So, yeah, I'm just going with the more talented team, and I'm going with the Vikings. Like I said, I can't fathom a world where they fall to 0-4. So, that's my pick here. Simple as that. Bryce Young is playing, so I'm not confident, like not overly confident in this one either. But I trust the Vikings more than I do the Panthers. So, Vikings win this one. All right. Then we got Steelers, Texans. And real quick. Away win. There we go. So, let me justify why the Steelers will win this football game and by the end of the week be the #1 team in the AFC. Which is crazy because we have not looked anywhere near that. But standings-wise, it's what we could be. This is J.J. Watt's day where he's going to be inducted into the Ring of Honor for the Texans. You cannot tell me that T.J. Watt is not going to go nuts in this football game. I fully believe T.J. Watt, against a injured and beat-up offensive line for the Texans, is going to sack C.J. Stroud at least 3 times. I'm predicting by the end of week 4, T.J. Watt is going to have 9 sacks. I just don't see a day where his brother goes into the Ring of Honor that TJ does not go nuts. He's a competitive enough guy. He sees his brother's name go up there. He's going to want to have a day. And I think he will do that. I think TJ could win this game single-handedly almost. But I hope I see the offense continue what they did against Las Vegas last week. Thought they looked better. Not great, but better. Showed some improvements. We need to continue to see those improvements. Continue to get Kenny outside of the pocket. Kenny Pickett needs to be on the roll. He needs to be sprinting out of the pocket a little bit more. He's more comfortable out there. Most young quarterbacks are. Let him get his legs out there a little bit. Then maybe see if we can turn him back into a pocket passer a little bit more. But let him get comfortable. Let him move around a little bit. Use those legs. Steelers pick up this win on JJ's day. All right. Next up, Raiders at Chargers. So, Raiders-Chargers. Again, this one for me is as simple as going with the better football team. The Chargers are just the better football team. The Raiders don't even have Jimmy G. I don't even know who their backup is. So I don't know who's playing quarterback for them. He's out with a concussion. So the Chargers, who are already have picked to win, will definitely win without the Raiders starting quarterback. So I know they lost Mike Williams for the year. The Chargers did. So, but they still got Keenan Allen. They got, is it Joshua Palmer or Jordan Palmer? Their other wide receiver, who's still a young guy, and I showed glimpses of being all right. I don't mind him as a number 2. And like I said, Herbert's awesome. So the Chargers win this one, and I don't really have more details of that other than they're the better team. All right. Patriots at Cowboys. Okay. Cowboys got embarrassed last week against the Cardinals. Patriots won a game that was much closer against the Jets than it should have been, seeing how they had literally no offense. So this is going to be a weird statement. Patriots are 1-2, but their win was the worst they've looked all year. Their 2 losses, in both of them, they looked better than they did in the win. So it's a weird thing to say, but I do believe it to be true. Cowboys, on the other hand, looked like a normal team where their 2 wins were far more impressive than their loss. But I expect a bounce back from the Cowboys. Once again, I think they're the more talented team here. I don't see the Patriots going in Dallas and winning. I don't see Dallas losing to 2 subpar teams in back-to-back weeks. They look too good the first 2 weeks to have that happen. At least not until January or February is when Dallas starts losing those types of games. So I'm going to pick Dallas to win this one at home. And a little bit of a get-right game for them, too, after that Arizona week last week. So Dak and the boys get the win here. Who do we got next? Next, we got Cardinals at Niners. Okay. And I'm gonna throw this up here before I talk myself out of it, because I do really, really love what I saw out of the Cardinals last week. But the Niners are one of the elite teams of the league. They are arguably the best team in all football. And the Cardinals, like I said, up until last week, I thought were tanking. I thought they were fully tanking the season for Caleb Williams. But Josh Dobbs played great last week. And like I said, I love seeing that. Saw a lot of good things out of the Cardinals last week that I did not expect to see from them all year. But none of that matters when it comes to the Niners. This is a different animal. If the Cardinals win this one and beat Cowboys, Niners back-to-back weeks, we may see a historic jump for them in my power rankings. But I don't see that happening. The Niners are too good of a football team. So they will pick up the win here. And actually, I don't know why it took me till this game to look at it. But I thought the graphics on last week's video looked better. I didn't see as much cutoff. So if you saw any graphical issues, feel free to let me know. But I think the way I moved it worked a little bit better. So, but back to football. Niners win this game. All right, next up, we have Chiefs at Jets. I believe this is the Sunday night football game. It is. And I did hear, before we get too far into it, Taylor Swift's going to be there again. So let's just get this out of the way. Taylor Swift's there. Chiefs win. No. But in all seriousness, that Jets offense has looked absolutely anemic with Zach Wilson at quarterback. The Chiefs are the Chiefs, and we know what Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce can do. This one won't be close. This will be another blowout win for the Chiefs. Yeah. And the Jets are going to be, for another week, asking, who can we find to play quarterback? You know, Kaepernick's called. Who's the other retired guy that called? They had Kaepernick. I think they had like 2 others. Either way, they're going to be looking for quarterback options. Either they're going to be looking for him, or that defense is going to kill Saleh until they do. That defense is getting fed up with Zach Wilson at quarterback. So, nothing too crazy to this one. And the Monday night football game, Seahawks at Giants. This one I actually expect to be a lot closer of a game. The Giants do get the extra rest having played on Thursday of last week. So almost like a mini bye, as they like to call it. Seahawks have been a little up and down, or down and up, I guess. They looked pretty rough week 1. And then 2 and 3, they looked pretty good. Giants, like I said, they've looked terrible for 5 out of 6 halves of football. But I do think the extra time off will help them here. They're at home after a mini bye against a team that's a little bit inconsistent. I'm going to pick the Giants to win this one at home, even though I do believe the Seahawks are the better football team. But that better team does not win every single game, and I think this is going to be one of those. Giants at home off the mini bye to win this. Yeah, just thinking it over in my head. See if I can actually make myself pick Daniel Jones and that Giants team, see if they can win. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to say the Giants win this one at home. And that will be all of the games for week 3 of the NFL season. I do apologize this video coming out so late in the week. Like I said, a little bit of a busy week. Hopefully next week's will be better. The week after that, I might have a little bit of a problem because I'm traveling a little bit. But hopefully next week's is back out on time. I hope you do enjoy these. If you do, please do like and subscribe to the channel and the video. We really appreciate it. Gaining subscribers a little bit slowly, but I'm getting close to that 100 number. I'm really trying to get up to 100 subscribers. help me get there. Leave it in the comments anything you saw wrong with my power rankings, teams that are too high, too low, teams you think I got just right, any of my picks, how you think I've done picks so far, any of my picks for this upcoming week that you strongly disagree with or you think I'm on the money about. I love hearing your guys' opinions about all of it. Feel free to leave your picks for the games in the comments. But yeah, all that being said, I hope you enjoy some football this week, and I hope you all have a good day and a good night, and I'll catch you in a future video. Bye, guys.